Borak in this mug. And you already know who streets this is. Let's do this shit,
Your
boys.
streets, Billy.
Hey, what's about to happen? Nothing. Hey, nothing. You go and you stink.
Monkey niggers out of here and you can't do shit. That's me talking shit.
Treat me like a fucking animal, and I'm gonna act like a fucking animal, you know?
Your type.
I prefer older men on the whole.
Wow. That's the first time I see an uncle grandmother.
This is Patrick Swan's day. What you gonna do when I put the massage on you?
Yeah, sometimes I sit outside because I want to get a little sweat on. Like I'm fighting someone. But if someone had the opportunity to fight me, they'd be on the floor.
Okay, thanks, Emerson. Ready?
White.
So Nova Scotia right now, which is a province in Canada, just banned all hiking.
White.
And if you do go hiking or you go into the woods, they're going to charge you $25,000.
I remember when I lost my mind.
My family of 6 shares a family towel.
White.
Yo, I ain't never been scared in my life. I grew up hustling, struggling, moving packs through the night. A lot of people who talking probably never even been in a fight.
That's a fact.
But Malibu had a rumble just to keep his pockets tight.
3602 Gramercy Way, that's where I live. Come fucking see me.
Try Jesus, not me. 'Cause I throw hands. Try Jesus, please don't try me. Because I'm fine. I know what he said about getting.
DICE agents hit Whole Foods this morning, targeting undocumented colonizers. Several fled, abandoning their organic almond milk.
Ma'am, how do you feel about being deported?
They want me to go back. Back where? I've never even been to Finland.
That pilgrim visa expired a couple centuries ago, gang. Back across the pond you go, chap. Cheerio, motherfucker. DICE agents swarmed today's NASCAR event, targeting legacy squatters. Parking lot is still filled with abandoned pickup trucks, beer cans, and red caps. Since the DICE raids, the states of Maine and Nebraska now have a population of 0. Yes, folks, 0. Overnight, the majority of Congress became fugitives. A record 428 seats now sit empty. That's right, 428 out of 535 folks. Target has officially been declared a sanctuary establishment, with the melanin deficient and the culturally displaced refusing to evacuate. This just in.
I'm 2% Cherokee on my mom's side.
That ain't enough to stay, Chief. Pack them up.
They're trying to crash the economy so that they can buy everything up for pennies on the dollar. And they want to get rid of any public services that our tax dollars pay for and privatize them so they can profit on that too. But they'll still take our tax dollars and then we'll pay them more for less. That's the whole plan. We'll be indebted to our government that will own us. That's how Russia started to become what they are. They own everything, and you live and work and struggle and pay everything to them just to survive. Yeah. Doesn't that sound fun? Yeah. Prices keep going up. Salaries aren't going up. Everything's so expensive. The numbers, the jobs, the economy, everything is being kept from us.
There's a theory
theory that the Hoover Dam is secretly a demonic throne and that the government put angels there to cover it up. When you go to the Hoover Dam, you're gonna see something really odd. There's a spot that has 2 giant winged statues made out of bronze. They look like angels, right? They are technically called the winged figures of the Republic, but this is the weird part. No one officially says what they are. They're not angels, they're not demons, they're figures. And that's not random. There's actually a floor underneath them that is a cosmic map. It shows the exact alignment of the stars the day that the dam was completed. Like they wanted like aliens or gods to find this later. You'd think it's just some like artsy little design, right? But the guy who made that design said that this is specifically supposed to last for thousands of years. Like that design was supposed to outlive our civilization. And this is where it gets a little darker. People also call this place the throne of the devil. But why would a dam need a cosmic star map and then 2 20, 30-foot bronze guardians? And then all of these like occult looking type symbols. Well, get this. So over 100 workers died while building the dam. And some people do believe that their bodies were sealed into the concrete and that they were considered to be sacrifices to bless the sculpture. And then on top of all of this, the location of these statues don't really make any sense. Like, why would they have these big designs at a power plant? And if you're religious, you also have to remember Satan was originally an angel. Another crazy thing to note is that the Hoover Dam has been featured in dozens of end-of-the-world movies, disaster scenes, and games. It has always been the center of destruction and secret technology. And then it's like, is that a coincidence, or is it programming for us to see it as the key to something? Even the name Hoover comes from a president who was involved in major US power shifts, literal power and electricity. And this makes you wonder if the government is trying to hide in plain sight. Massive monuments with spiritual symbolism built into them. Government approved, celebrated, protected, and most of us never even question it. So when you pass by and you take a little selfie, you don't even realize you are standing on what some call a throne. But the question remains, a throne for who exactly?
What if the real enemy of humanity isn't devil, but an ancient intelligence that hijacks systems, not souls? Let me show you the figure nobody talks about deeply enough, Ahriman. In ancient Zoroastrian cosmology, Ahriman or Angra Mainyu isn't just a villain. He's the principle of untruth. He doesn't tempt you with chaos. He builds systems so sterile and orderly they suffocate spirit. He's not fire and madness, he's cold logic, automation, artificial control. The perfect bureaucracy, the dead machine. Esoteric thinkers like Rudolf Steiner believed Ahriman was real and preparing to incarnate, not as a beast, but as a rational genius, a man of science, tech, and order, who offers humanity efficiency at the cost of inner life. The Ahriman doesn't erase your soul, he makes you forget you had one. Every time you nudge to distrust intuition, to obey the algorithm, and to replace real connection with digital dopamine. That's his influence. Not flashy, but invasive and systematic, almost invisible. This isn't about religion, it's about metaphysical infiltration. What if the reason everything feels numb, repetitive, and synthetic? It's because we're being trained to prefer what Ahriman would build. Well, predictable, productive, and empty. He doesn't come with horns, he comes with upgrades, and we download him willingly.
Some conspiracy theories are true. For example, let's say you had a friend call you up and say, I was eating at a restaurant and I found a microchip in my food. I know because I told them to leave off the pepper, but I saw a single speck of pepper, but when I looked at it closely, it was perfectly square, and when I took it home and looked at it under a magnifying glass, it was a microchip. Before you have them institutionalized, know that sometimes cheese has microchips in it. Specifically, authentic Parmesan cheese from Italy has chips embedded in the cheese wheels because they have a huge issue with counterfeiting. These chips let them scan the wheels for authenticity and also track where they go. These microchips are edible by design, and you may have eaten one in your life. Likewise, let's say that same friend says their printer is encoding secret messages in documents, that they keep finding these microscopic specks that they thought were just flaws in the print head or something. But once again, when they looked at them under their magnifying glass, they found a pattern, and they're certain that the pattern has meaning. What your friend has discovered are printer tracking dots. Many printers, we don't know which ones, use tiny, basically invisible dots. These identify the serial number of that printer and also the date and time when the document was printed. Printer manufacturers actually did this for 20 years in secret before the public found out in 2004. But for example, if documents were leaked from a government agency, these dots help them identify which printer they came from. Likewise, if you're using your printer for some sort of illegal counterfeiting activity, they can scan those nearly invisible dots and immediately know which machine did it and when. This is actually the frustrating thing about the fake conspiracy theories. Sometimes the reality is just as weird.
Let's talk about Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks has had a weird Instagram for a very long time. Things like this where he's finding children's shoes. Here he just happened to find a child's pacifier in Central Park. Here's another one where he posts a child's shoe on a couch. Like, if you were putting out your couch to sell or give away, would you just leave a child's shoe there? Like, what are the possibilities that he's placing these items there? Here's another creepy IG post I found of him promoting somebody's song, but look at that cover. That's clearly a child in distress. Hello? Even more weird, this song largely has been removed from the internet, which was also eerie. And again, look at that picture, a child in distress wearing a mask. Weird. But the weirdest of all Tom Hanks posts happened in 2019. Here it is. Here you see the caption. There's a random glove on the ground. He talks about Route 66. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. And around 2019, but even before then, there was an actor named Isaac Cappy. I'm going to say his name one time to avoid this video getting flagged. But nonetheless, he was talking about the sickness that's going through Hollywood that we all know about, and he was accusing some very famous people, including Thomas Hanks. By the way, notice the date, April 4th, 2019. So tell me, what are the chances that just one short month later, in May of 2019, this actor who I mentioned before would jump to his you-know-what in Arizona? Mind you, this guy has said in multiple videos throughout the internet, which it's kind of hard to find his videos anymore, that he was in no danger of you-know-whatting himself. So 1 month later, he did that in Arizona. Look at this, guys. I-40 in Arizona, where this took place, largely follows the route of the historic U.S. Route 66. So we have this actor accusing Tom Hanks of these things, right? We have no statement from Tom Hanks and his camp about it, nothing of the sort. All we have is a social media post 1 month before that guy jumps to his you-know-what on the same route of Tom Hanks talking about Route 66 and this word here. Come on, guys.
So within the same week, a councilman gets set on fire, and a Blackstone executive gets gunned down.
So a city councilman out of Virginia has just been set aflame by somebody. But, of course, media isn't reporting, like, who he was behind the scenes, the councilman. I mean, Lee Vogler is his name, out of Danville, Virginia. Yeah, but what they're not reporting at the moment is that Lee Vogler was on part of the board that voted to privatize the two major hospitals that exist in Danville. He also voted to get rid of low-income housing to put up luxury apartments. All for, you guessed it, a hedge fund. So while what happened to him is awful, I'm just saying, like, it's no surprise because everybody at the bottom who keeps getting smushed down lower and lower and lower, these people are going to continue to rise up against this oppression. So don't be shocked. And also, it does make me happy to see that in the comments, whenever I see any report of a new instance of how, like, a person on the bottom is going against somebody at the top, let's just put it that way, everybody in the comments is not falling for the media bullshit that's being spouted. They're actually aware of why these people are doing these things. As heinous as these actions are, again, I'm not advocating for violence against anyone, but my God, like, it's not even difficult. These people at the top are just, like, pushing us so low and taking everything from us. We have nothing left. And whenever people get to where they feel like they have nothing left, they will do anything to get out of that. And that's exactly what's happening. They're willing to give up everything because they feel like they have nothing anymore. And that's what they need to realize, because it's going to keep happening until shit fucking changes.
So Dutch lawyer Arno van Kessel was set to lead a major lawsuit against Bill Gates, Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, and former WEF chair Klaus Schwab over COVID policies and vaccine injuries, was arrested in a military-style raid and jailed without charges. So a lawyer that is suing Bill Gates and the head of Pfizer, Bourla, for the COVID vaccine injuries has just been arrested and imprisoned in the Netherlands. So the big arm of Big Pharma reaches far. The Netherlands goes full fascist in a Gestapo-reminiscent late-night arrest of attorney Arno van Kessel 1 month before trial against Bill Gates and is set to begin. That's from the McCullough Foundation. McCullough, the guy who told you the truth about COVID and the vaccine and got everything right, that guy, the guy they tried to disbar and disband and censor, that guy. Yeah, Arno van Kessel was arrested June 11th, 2025, in a raid by Dutch Special Forces, blindfolded and detained in Vought prison on suspicions of anti-institutional activities and potential violence, not actual violence.
A white cop in North Dakota was just caught forging paperwork in order to be able to illegally arrest local Native people. Benson County Chief Deputy Travis Carlson has reportedly falsified statements of probable cause, saying that he had jurisdiction on tribal lands, which is legally not possible. He illegally arrested 2 Native people, then tried extraditing them from their own tribal court to his county court, which isn't a thing. Quote, a legal impossibility. But he said that he had concurrent jurisdiction, which again, not a thing, and then took them off the reservation anyways. In one of those cases, he's accused of having illegally detained, mistreated, and infringed upon the personal rights of a minor in his patrol car. He's also been accused of a shit ton of sexual harassment from the women he's worked with and the women he's detained. All of these charges, even together, only carry a maximum of maybe 5 years in prison. Honestly, I'll be shocked if he gets a day.
You know that Native Americans were directly mentioned by one of the founding fathers of Zionism? In his 1923 essay, The Iron Wall, Zev Jabotinsky argued that the only way to successfully colonize Palestine was through brute military force. He referenced what happened to indigenous people here in the Americas as an example. He writes, my readers have a general idea of the history of colonization in other countries. The native populations, civilized or uncivilized, have always stubbornly resisted the colonists, irrespective of whether they were civilized or savage. And it made no difference whether the colonists behaved decently or not. The Pilgrim Fathers, the first real pioneers of North America, were people of the highest morality who did not want to harm anyone, least of all the Red Indians, and they honestly believed that there was room enough in the prairies for both the paleface and the redskin. Yet the native population fought with the same ferocity against the good colonists as against the bad. This is equally true of the Arabs. We may tell them whatever we like about the innocence of our aims, watering them down and sweetening them with honeyed words to make them more palatable, but they know what we want as well as we know what they do not want. They feel at least the same instinctive, jealous love of Palestine as the old Aztecs felt for ancient Mexico and the Sioux for their rolling prairies. The one thing I want to point out is that in 1923, one of the founding fathers of Zionism is labeling himself and the Project of Israel as colonizers. He is referring to Palestinians as the natives of the area, comparing them to the indigenous people of the Americas. He also is glorifying the Pilgrim Fathers of the Americas, painting them as absolute saints and basically applauding how effectively they were able to slaughter and murder us and steal our land. So I genuinely want to know, how is a movement going to go from applauding and fawning over our murderers to suddenly wanting to steal our identity and claim indigeneity to the area in order to more effectively carry out the same levels of violence and genocide that happened here? Unfortunately for them, Palestinians and Native Americans are similar in many ways, including our resilience and our fighting spirit. Despite every genocidal act that the wholesome Pilgrim Fathers committed over the past 500 years, natives are still here. Our languages are still here. Our cultures are still here. We still have our identity.
And if we can survive that long of fierce, brutal colonization, I know that Palestinians will do the same. I highly encourage all of you to look up the essay, The Iron Wall, thoroughly read it so you can fully understand how deep this history goes, and you can see the parallels for what they truly are, blatantly obvious. And to my fellow natives on here, Educate yourself on this so that you can educate your family, your friends, your tribal leadership. We need to boldly and loudly push back against this weaponization and bastardization of what it means to be indigenous, especially with the opening of the Indigenous Embassy in Jerusalem on February 4th. The embassy's goal is to, quote, change anti-Israel narrative among native peoples. They're realizing that indigenous solidarity with Palestine worldwide is becoming a problem, and they're trying so hard to undermine that. Do not let them appeal to and use our own people in order to do that. Because, as Zev Jabotinsky himself said, Palestinian struggle and the Native American struggle are parallel and intertwined.
Some of you guys are pro-Palestinian, but against the resistance. And I'm so confused as to how this works. Did you think that me and you creating content and spreading awareness and protesting was enough to actually free Palestine? I can tell you right now, in the history of the world, no group of people has ever been liberated because people in the West held hands and sang songs of freedom. It has always been because a few brave souls sacrificed their lives to ensure that the legacy of their people and their land lived on. Under international law, you have the right to fight back and resist any foreign occupation. And under those terms, October 7th is an uprising. It is an act of resistance against a occupational force, a genocidal force that had trapped 2 million Palestinians in Gaza in an open-air prison for over 18 years. Now, the U.S. might deem Palestinian resistance as terror, but the United Nations does not. 147 countries recognize the state of Palestine, but none of these countries has physically intervened to stop the genocide of Palestinians in the last 2 years besides 2 countries, Iran and Yemen. And coincidentally, these 2 countries have been demonized by the world, specifically the West, as seen as oppressive and violent, even though their human rights violations and body count is nowhere near the US, UK, France, any of these European countries. Yet these 2 countries that are trying to stop a genocide have been demonized by the entire world as oppressive and violent. I want to make something clear, by the way. I can see that Iran and Yemen do not have the best domestic policies. I can see that these countries are far from perfect, but I'm not going to reduce geopolitical issues into human rights issues at this juncture when there is an active land grab. Some of you guys have been completely indoctrinated by the West by watching Hollywood movies like Marvel, Avengers, and you genuinely believe that the resistance should look like the Avengers, a perfect group of people. No, the resistance is not going to be a perfect group of people. That's not reality. No one who is not a psychopath or a colonizer or a genocidal maniac does not want to wake up one day and pick up a weapon and fight. People have to be pushed to those limits. Majority of those who joined the Palestinian resistance are orphans because Israel killed their families. Do you understand? Those people are not mentally well. You've literally killed all the people that they've ever loved.
A terrifying arrest in Texas.
We do consider this to be a serial killer. It meets the qualifications or definition of being a serial killer.
Authorities say Juan David Ortiz, a U.S. Border Patrol agent, is allegedly a calculated murderer, killing 4 women, all believed to be sex workers, according to the district attorney, over the past 2 weeks. Investigators seen here combing the scene where they found one victim's body. According to police, Ortiz attempted to abduct a 5th woman Saturday night, but she managed to get away.
Apparently, the suspect pulled out a gun on her and she was able to escape.
That woman found an officer and directed police to Ortiz. He was later arrested hiding in a hotel parking garage. He now faces 4 murder charges and is being held on a $2.5 million bond.
I always found it super fucking racist when Mexicanos told me that I had pelo chino. And like in Guatemala, we call them colochos. And I pressed them on that's racist. And they're like, no, it's not. So your girl looked at the history because it sounded like the casta system that the Spanish fucking made. See what happens when you question everything? This is where I'm gonna be like, I told you so. Chino and China was used in colonial Mexico to describe people of mixed races. But in the 18th century, it changed to describe the Amerindian or indigenous people or anyone from African descent. Before we jump into the history, make sure you follow me because I'm trying to reach 10K on TikTok in 10 days. Now, for those of you that don't know what the casta system is, it is a term of lineage that the Spanish and Portuguese historically used to racially and socially categorize our people. On my page, I talk about how learning your history helps decolonize your mind. And in Chicano history, I learned this right here. I thought these categories were plain and simple, but apparently there are so many more. India, mestizo, o cholo, Damn. This goes on. And for a lot of Latinos, they believe that they are all Spanish and purebloods. And just as an FYI, we're not just mixed with the Spanish. We're not just mixed with the indigenous population, but we also have African ancestry. And for all the racists that are going to come into my comments like, oh my God, no, we don't have African ancestry. Listen very closely. Racism is so engraved in our culture that Mexico did not even acknowledge that they had Afro-Mexicanos until about the 2020 census, so get it together. So when Mexico had their independence in 1821, they abolished the colonial era, but the word remained. So although the word Chino in standard Spanish means someone that Chinese descent, the word in Mexico means curly hair because of its roots. I told y'all motherfuckers it was racist. I also need you guys to stop using Chino and China to describe every Asian person, because then you are no different from everyone else calling every Latino Mexicano. Get it together.
I thought that, I mean, in black music today, that there is a lack of like some of the real soul that made it really special in the 60s.
I can't tell who's singing. That's what really bothers me, is that I don't know who it is. What I like about music, and the kind of music that I like, is the kind that, like, hey, 20 seconds into the tune, you know who this artist is because there's something unique about him or her. That's why they put this record on. Yeah. Not because it sounded like this one or it fit comfortably between commercials, but because there's really something worthwhile here. Yeah. And I'm saying when one turns to the other, which turns to the other one, which turns into and around and in on itself again, I'm just not happy. I hope those people are who are playing that stuff. But I really like individual music, and it doesn't matter like where it's coming from. The mass production.
That's right.
You know, it don't have no substance, so you can produce a lot of them very quickly, but they just as quickly lose their flavor. You know, just as quickly as something is #1 this week, you never heard of the people who did it next week because there was no substance there. That's right. It was disco duck. It was 1 in a million. It was not to be heard from again. It was right. Damn glad to see you going. Wonder how you got here. It was it was all those things.
You ready for this?
No.
You think this is one of the scariest things that you've ever had to do in your life?
I can honestly say, yeah, it is.
When we get to the bridge, it's going to be fucking scary. Yeah. We're going to be crossing the Crescent City Connection.
Yeah, the situation is everybody who's stuck on this side of the river without transportation is in the area that we're going to right now. And
walking, desperate, without food or water.
Haven't eaten in a few days, haven't drank in a few days. You know, so it's going to be a pretty desperate situation when we get there. And I can honestly say I have no qualms about shooting anybody. It's just that much lawlessness right now.
They'll have no mercy for us.
No, we have no fear. We will shoot first and I'll shoot first and ask questions later.
Right. To shoot, to put them down. We didn't try to shoot to kill.
Oh, okay. So you
killed a number of them.
How many did you kill roughly?
Cash. No. Cash. Matter.
Yeah, I hear you.
It doesn't matter. They chose to die. They chose to commit suicide.
How do you know the vigilantes? You see them. How they patrol around here in trucks. 4-ton truck. Driver and a passenger. And then 2 in the back. With long guns. And nobody telling them anything.
It was no police. No police. No army, no National Guard, nobody. Then they put in a shoot to kill curfew. A dusk to dawn. Shoot to kill. But there's nobody left.
Young blacks was being killed in this community. When you hear the gunfire, it's not something I'm just making up. It's out there.
It was great. I gotta go. It was like pheasant season in South Dakota. I gotta go. If it moved,
Get out. How are we going to get out?
Look, we this high in water. We grab what we get. How long you been walking for? About at least 3 hours.
They weren't gonna go in those doggone neighborhoods. They weren't gonna impact those neighborhoods. Those people were looking to escape, and they cut off the last available exit route. Look at my people. I got 2 grandchildren, a nephew, another nephew right there. We got trying to get the old folks out. If I stay up here, I'ma die. If I go that fucking way and they shoot me now, I'ma die. So I'ma die any fucking way. You gonna tax me anyway. But whatever it takes for me to get mine out here, I'm getting the fuck out here. You heard me? I wouldn't give a fuck. I gotta go.
A black teen named Michael Robinson was jumped outside of a movie theater by a gang of white boys in Simi Valley.
Kicks, punches, and the N-word hurled at the victim.
They always come in groups. They're too chicken to fight by themselves.
They threw punches, they kicked him, they shoved his head into a trash can like it was 1955 Mississippi. And oh yeah, they hurled racial slurs the whole time. And what did the Simi Valley Police Department do? They charged them with misdemeanor battery. Let that marinate. Now, they called him the N-word, they hunted him down, and one of the attackers is the son of a cop. But instead of calling this what it is, a modern-day racially motivated assault, they're treating it like a playground scuffle. Meanwhile, this young brother got a concussion, a back injury, a chipped tooth, but the city's dragging its feet on hate crime charges like we didn't see the video. It's 2025. They act like the video footage is still up for interpretation. We not doing that. This ain't just about bullying, y'all. This is targeted racial violence. This ain't kids being kids. This is generational bigotry with a badge in its quarter. And if you think this is about a fight at the movies, you're missing the whole damn plot. Simi Valley has a long history of racial tension. Let's not forget, this is the same city where the cops who beat Rodney King got acquitted. A city where being black is often treated like a threat. That's not a coincidence. That's a culture. Now watch how quick folks say, don't politicize this. But when a black kid gets jumped by a group yelling slurs and the only charges are misdemeanors, that is political. Now let me be clear. If races were reversed, those charges would have been felonies before the ambulance even arrived. And if this wasn't on camera, they probably blame Michael for starting it. And if one of the attackers wasn't a cop's kid, we might actually have a hate crime charge on the table already. But you see how the system protects its own?
Right. You're just like, what? Is that even real? Let me show you. Travel activities in woods restricted to prevent wildfires. But I've made so many videos where there's evidence that they're lighting these fires, that there's eco-terrorists. Even the California fire, there's a bunch of things saying that an arsonist and this other chick went in there. And the fact that Spencer Pratt right now is completely exposing Newsom in California is absolutely hilarious. And I did not see that coming, but it's freaking hilarious. And they're even going after rich people. It's not just poor people. Like, we're all on the chopping block. And I know what you're going to say. Is this really for preventing wildfires? No, it's to keep you from moving into the woods, from living off the grid, from knowing how to move in the woods. Do you understand? They want you domesticated even more now. Now, the NDP tried to do this in Alberta around like 2016, and there's like huge protests, and it was called the Y2Y project. And they basically wanted everybody out of the corridor from Yellowstone to Yellowknife. And that's the Y2Y project because that has the most resources and fresh water and watersheds in all of North America. And they wanted everybody off that property. And they were even going to start pushing farms and people with homes in that corridor off of their homes by stating like regulation differences in buildings and stuff and increasing taxes to the point where they would actually push people out of these areas into cities. Like, do you see what they're doing? They made a crisis. They light these fires every single year the minute the snow melts, and then they come up with these crazy excuses that make absolutely no sense. And I honestly don't know who's dumber. The elites, who have gotten so stupid in the last 10 years that everything that they do is so obvious, except for to the stupiders, who are like the people who follow this stuff and are like, yeah, no, we got to prevent wildfires, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, people shouldn't be living there because I'm not living there. And if I don't need to live there, why do they need to live there? And that is literally how they're going to get us. If you watch Canada, that is the step-by-step NWO, the New World Order, and how they will slowly take away all your rights and get you to not move anywhere and have you centralized in these 15-minute pods that you ding-dongs think will have all your needs without you having to drive or anything. No, they're going to be your 15-minute little prisons. And here's another thing. You know how they're going to get digital IDs in? They're going to basically tell you that they've let too many terrorists and criminals into the country, and now they need to identify the good people from the bad people, even though those bad people are chanting death to Canada right like on the streets, and no one's doing a thing. Do you see how this works? They create the problem, then they give you the solution, and then they take your freedoms away.
You were abandoned at birth, you're a person of color in America, you were a queer person in a Mormon community. Are there any other struggles you faced in life?
No, I think you really nailed it.
So let me get this straight. The KKK thought they could march into a Native and Black community with their stupid little flags and not get touched. They showed up for a rally, but they left with their sheets soaked in fear and pee. Let me tell you about the night the Klan got their asses handed to them by the Lumbee and Black folks in North Carolina. It was January 18th, 1958, Robeson County, North Carolina. A Klan leader named James Catfish Cole. He decided that he was going to host a good old-fashioned cross burning near Maxton. Why? Because he didn't like seeing Lumbee and Black folks marrying, sharing schools, or God forbid existing with dignity. He printed flyers, made speeches, said it was time to put them in their place. But the thing is, Robeson County was not the place for that. Night falls. Hayes Pond. Cole expected hundreds of Klansmen to show up and back him up. He got maybe 30. Meanwhile, over 500 Lumbee men joined by some Black neighbors, they showed up deep, armed, ready, and not playing. They surrounded the rally from all sides. Some wore in military gear, some brought hunting rifles. They told the press, "We didn't come to talk." And when Cole tried to start his little hate speech, someone shot out the light. Total darkness. And then, all hell broke loose. Shots fired into the air. Klansmen ran like roaches when the lights come on. They dropped their flags, their signs, and even their guns. Cole himself, he took off and ran and hid in the swamp like the coward that he was. Nobody died that night, but the Klan's reputation did. The media called it the night the Klan got routed. The Lumbee held a victory parade the next day, holding up that torn Klan banner like a trophy. And guess what? James Cole was arrested soon after, and he never held another rally in North Carolina ever again. That's what resistance looks like. You don't hear about the Battle of Hayes Pond in school because it shatters the myth. The myth that Black and Indigenous folks just took it, that we didn't fight back. But we did. And sometimes we won. So the next time you hear somebody talking about the Klan, remind them of the night that a bunch of Lumbee and Black men showed up in the dark, uninvited, and sent the Klan running for their lives. That's history. That's power. And that's the part they hope you never learn.
Well, I'm 74. I was 24 when I discovered that I had cancer. If you've got high grade, it means it's moving like a freight train through you. It was terminal, to say the very least. And he said, "Rick, if you want to live, you're going to have to leave the Mayo Clinic."
Mayo Clinic's like the best in America.
That's exactly my retort. And Ivory, I went down the rabbit's hole. My wife got on the plane with me. I looked at her and I said, "I think it's a one-way trip." I didn't think I was coming back vertical. I took 3 to 6 gram injections of a liquid Laetrile. Laetrile is made from that. That is an apricot kernel. By the way, the American Cancer Society owns stock in 5FU chemotherapy.
If you Google B17 or Laetrile or apricots, Google any of it, FDA's warning comes up.
Oh yeah.
Saying that the exact facet of the apricot kernel that heals you, the B17, is toxic. One of my viewers, she's like, "I have a bag of apricot seeds in my pantry and I really want to try them, but I'm just so scared because there's a toxin in there, right?"
There is low levels of cyanide.
But cyanide is dangerous, right?
In high amounts.
Is that what was in the injections you were taking?
Yeah, and I'll tell you how much. This is a 3 gram vial, and I took on certain days 2 of those, and the government said that would kill anyone. Do I look dead to you?
That's a lot of cyanide.
No, because the cyanide only gets released at the site of cancer. And this was discovered in the 1920s and 40s. I spoke before a legislative group because they were coming after us. And I had what your mom had, a bunch of 500 milligram capsules. And I said, now this is enough to kill an adult human. Water.
According to the FDA.
According to the FDA. They all went like little shit.
You just took it in front of them.
I said, now I'm going to give my little testimony here. Probably take me 2 minutes. And let's see if I kick over dead. The whole time I was being treated, I didn't have a cold. I didn't lose my hair. Well, now I am, but it's my age. I didn't throw up. No gastric problems. None. 0. And within 3 weeks, I was on the mend.
Wow.
The other 2 factors here are diet and detox. The diet I can give you in one sentence. 80% raw, uncooked, organic, and it's either a fruit or a vegetable. The nurse comes into my room and says, today we're gonna start detox. And I looked at her and I said, good, what's detox?
The figure of a Coca-Cola. Yeah, I've been baking,
Have you heard that this actually causes bone loss, osteopenia, osteoporosis? You know why? One of these has a pH of 2.5. You know what your body has to do? It has to literally pull calcium from the bone to buffer that pH down to protect itself. Oh, wait, there's something you can do. You can drink neutral water and buffer that pH down. Okay, if you drink 2 of these a day, guess how many glasses of water you'd have to drink? Take a guess. All right, what did you think? 5, maybe 7? That's what I thought. 30. Who's going to do that? Oh, if you drink 5 of these a day, which many people do, 64 glasses of water. It's not going to happen. That means you're losing calcium from bone. I have an easy solution. You might want to think again.
I've had a model that had lung and bone cancer, 43 days on grapes and lemons. Wow. No more bone and lung cancer left. Tumors, we had a 9-month-old with a tumor in
9 months old.
9 months. Wow. And that shows you that your lymphatic system is set by mama. Right. Because you're hooked into her fluids. Remember, the body's just cells and fluids. It's all your body is. So your body's made of approximately 100 trillion cells. There's some but
give and take.
Give or take. So let's say 100 trillion cells. So you have to feed 100 trillion cells chemistry, right? Mm-hmm. Food, nutrition, right? But also you have to clean 100 trillion cells. Right. Just like a baby you bring home from the hospital, you don't just feed them. You gotta clean them. Right. And so how do you do that? And that's those interstitial spaces. Those are the spaces around every cell in your body, including bone. And that's how your body gets blood, and then the lymph moves it away. Yeah. The fluid in those spaces are 20% blood, 80% lymphatic. Mm-hmm. So it shows you how vital the lymphatic system is. Well, when you have a modality like the allopathic community that does not understand this, they make everything look like it's a disease and they can treat it, then that's what kills so many people.
Yeah.
As president, I will not cut 1 penny from Social Security or Medicare. Together we will deliver low taxes, low regulations, low energy costs, low interest rates, and low inflation so that everyone can afford groceries, a beautiful car, and a home.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would. Tariff is a tax on a foreign country. Energy is going down. I see that we had a couple of states where gasoline was at $1.98 a gallon.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can...
No, some of you guys don't understand how sadistic this was. Do you see that? That is the aid that they allowed to get into the north yesterday. 10 aid trucks made it into Beit Hanun, and they were sent directly to the school shelter centers. And they were filled with fresh meat, fresh fruit, and fresh vegetables, after months of only working with tinned food and spoiled flour. That sounds great, doesn't it? Except immediately after they unloaded all of the trucks, they dropped their evacuation orders. And then immediately after the evacuation orders dropped, they started dropping bombs. The people fled Beit Hanun under a hailstorm of bullets, bombs, and artillery, fired off by helicopter, by tank, and by warplane. Immediately before they started dropping bombs on the schools and the family homes, they gave them one final meal. But they didn't even give them time to eat it. And as the schools burned, Patel told the world that there would be no arms embargo because they let in food. And the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about this at all. They want to tell you what a great job it was that Israel finally let in some food, but they're not going to tell you that they targeted Hassam Shabbat's cousins. Yeah, the journalist for Al Jazeera, they bombed his cousin's family home, and the only survivor was a baby. Dr. Shabbat is laying in 2 pieces in the street, along with so many other people who were either gunned down or blown to bits. And the Western media wants us to give them a round of applause.
Well, the point is, how can they project holograms of that size?
And therein lies the problem, because people are, when you say hologram, they're thinking of a Walt Disney little pixie dancing around in a little darkness area. That's all they know about holograms. They don't know that 20 years ago we could project a hologram with heat, noise, light, speed, anything we wanted, anywhere. And we used that on 9/11. We used that on 9/11. We used that on 9/11. Right now, the television...
Did you catch that?
He was about to say to put a plane through a building, but he caught himself. Go back and listen to it again. Watch what he says.
I can tell a lot about your health just by how many mosquitoes are obsessed with you. And you think it's random, but it's not. Mosquitoes are like flying biochemists. They're tuned into your breath, your sweat, the oils in your skin, and the microbiome that lives in your body and on your body. If you're getting eaten alive, your internal chemistry is broadcasting something. If your gut's off like Candida, SIBO, or dysbiosis, you might be releasing more sulfur compounds, acetone, or ammonia through your skin and breath. That sour or fermented smell, that's microbial metabolism showing up on the outside, and mosquitoes are tuned in. Hormonal changes matter too. High estrogen states like ovulation, pregnancy, even HRT, raise skin temperature, boost blood flow, and shift your scent profile. Mosquitoes can detect that almost instantly. Your sweat chemistry tells a story too. Lactic acid, urea, short-chain fatty acids are shaped by your diet, hydration, and stress. Your skin bacteria eat those up, turn them into carboxylic acids, which are basically mosquito catnip. If your gut barrier or liver detox is impaired, more of these compounds leak into your circulation, and it shows up on your skin. You're literally breathing out your internal state. Even your skin microbiome diversity matters. People with fewer microbial strains often produce louder, more specific odors, the kind that mosquitoes lock into very easily. Your scent is like your fingerprint, and mosquitoes can tell the difference between a balanced system and one that's out of tune.